Hello, and welcome to Talkin' Tales, where we share stories about our animal companions, their unique personalities, their zany antics, and the heartbreak of saying goodbye. I'm your host, Paul Barnett. In August of 2013, a coworker put me in touch with a representative from a medical lab. They had two young female ferrets who needed a home. At the time, my ferret business consisted of Peter, Piper, and Zoe. I agreed to give these two ferrets a home and arranged to pick them up. They were brought out to me in a small blue plastic storage bin with air holes in the top of it. There was no food or water or bedding in the bin. I drove home and lifted the lid on the container. Two beautiful little sable girls were inside, with the slightly larger one wrapped around the smaller one, keeping her warm. They had no names at the lab. The larger one, given how she was wrapped around the other one, would become Pretzel. The smaller one, just a little lady with a black rectangle marking on her nose and a shaved stomach with an incision that was mostly healed, would become Pixel. Pixel and Pretzel were not used to warm, soft beds and playtime, but they quickly learned about them and settled in with their new brother and sisters. Despite their rough start in life, they were gentle and playful. One evening during playtime, I heard one of my shoes fall from the shoe rack. Little Pixel, who was barely 600 grams, was dragging it across the room. This became a daily activity for her. The shoe needed to be moved to a specific place. If I moved it elsewhere, she would move it back. Both ladies were very curious and playful, and enjoyed exploring the tubes, boxes, and ball pit that were set up for playtime. At the end of playtime, Pretzel would often be found curled up in a box, sometimes with a friend or two, while Pixel would fall asleep in random places, or sometimes climb back into a hammock or sleep sack in the cage. Pretzel loved being on the bottom of a cuddle pile. In the ensuing years, these ladies helped welcome several more family members, including Milo and Smidget, Haiku, Benson and Rigby, Xerxes and Seven, Dodger, Rose and Ace, Sierra and Rhea, Bernice, Bowie, another Milo, Ellie, Kyra, and Omni, and said goodbye to several as well, Haiku and Peter, Piper and Dodger, Haiku, Ellie, and Rhea. In 2018, Pretzel developed an unusual skin condition. The doctor wasn't sure what it was, and the initial tests came back inconclusive. We tried multiple antibiotics, and each worked for a week or two, but then stopped working. Pretzel hated her medications, but loved the soupies she got afterwards. She shared many bowls of soupies with her little brother Dodger, who had begun battling his own illness in the fall of 2018. Pretzel's weight dropped significantly. At one point, her paws swelled up to almost twice their normal size. The doctor took a small skin sample for further analysis, and as we had run out of medications to try, turned to one more powerful medication as a last resort. But it was too late. On the morning of November 9th, 2018, I rushed Pretzel to the vet as she was lethargic and appeared to be having trouble breathing. I stayed with her at the vet for the day. Her body temperature was low, so they warmed her up with a heating pad and put her on oxygen to help her breathe. Her condition hadn't improved by the afternoon, and the vet tech was helping her breathe. By late afternoon, the doctor came in to talk to me and told me she didn't believe we'd be able to get Pretzel back to a healthy state. After some thought and a few questions for the vet, I told the vet tech that she could stop helping Pretzel breathe. I took Pretzel in my arms and held her. Within minutes, she slipped away. When I put her in the carrier that morning, I grabbed Pixel as well, as I suspected this might have been the outcome, and the two had been together their entire lives. When I arrived at the vet and looked in the carrier to see how Pretzel was doing, I found that little Pixel, still the smallest of the business, was now the one who had wrapped herself around Pretzel to keep her sister warm. One thing about Pixel that stands out is how she was a big personality in a tiny body. She was the smallest of everyone, but I remember one day her little brother Seven, who was about twice her size and half her age, and acted like the leader of the business, needing to approve all newcomers, was put in his place by little tiny Pixel. Pixel lived to about 8 years old, continuing to move my shoes to her favorite spot. Her eyesight began to fail in early 2020, but she still made her way around during playtime and still moved my shoes. By the fall of 2020, she was the oldest ferret I had ever had. She was on a couple of medications for her heart, and it was her heart that gave out on September 6th, 2020. In the fall of 2017, Pixel and Pretzel welcomed a group of 5 additional lab girls into the family. Similar to Pixel and Pretzel, they had no names initially. They were each about 1 year old. I named the first 4 after strong female characters from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show. The 5th little lady was the smallest of the bunch, and nearly as small as Pixel, and similar in appearance. In fact, she could have been Pixel's twin, which is how I arrived at the perfect name for her. We'll learn more about each of these 5 precious souls in the next episode. If you'd like to share a story about a special pet, visit us at talkandtalespodcast.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/talkandtales. Stories are pre-recorded, so you don't have to worry about being live on the air. And if you prefer to write your story, I'm happy to read it for you. Again, please get in touch via talkandtalespodcast.com or at Facebook at facebook.com/talkandtales. That's TALKINTAILS. If you run a rescue or shelter, or know someone who does, please have them get in touch so we can feature them on an upcoming episode. If you'd like to support the show, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/talkandtales. No matter what podcast app you choose, please take a moment to rate and review the show and share it with a friend. It helps us find new listeners, which means we can bring you more stories.